So what is church all about? What do we as the church come together to do, or to be, or to like, what is it all about? I would like to suggest to you that this creation account, this is from Genesis 1, and I don't know if you know do you know all 6 days that God took to create? You know what happened on each one of them? I'm sure you do. You probably have it memorized. You recite it every morning. This is the last day, the culmination before God rested. God rested on the seventh day. And then we get into chapter 2 of Genesis, and we begin to see how God actually formed mankind. We see that God did it on the last day, but we don't see exactly how God goes about it. What does that have to do with what we're here doing? So I would like to suggest that there's 2 ways to come at life. One is random and chaotic, and the other one is a little more orderly and purposeful. So I might get myself into some hot water, and I don't expect you to believe me and buy into what I say, but you can send me emails, or you can get me afterwards, or next Saturday morning I'll be here helping with the tent, and you can come and yell at me then. But here's the bottom line, I think. For evolutionists, it's kind of the chaotic, no purpose method. There was nothing, and out of nothing came something. And I don't personally get that, but they have their faith and believe that. And then somehow life started and it evolved, and we are who we are because of evolution. And in a couple more million years, we'll evolve to something else, or maybe sooner than that, depending on how artificial intelligence happens and all this good stuff that's coming down the pipe. Who knows? I don't know. We're going to be, from Star Trek, the Borgs, right? I don't know. Anyway, but it makes sense because out of all that we do essentially is motivated by self-preservation, and self-preservation isn't actually self-preservation. It's your tribe or your family or whatever. So you're nice to other people, so they're nice to you, so that your tribe can survive and get favored. Anyway, it's a long story, but it's creative chaos. Whereas the other way to look at life and come at life is that if God created everything, then there's a purpose. And part of why we're here this morning is because we have experienced life in a way that we see that there's a God who created, and then there's a purpose behind it. But in this story, we don't necessarily know what the purpose is beyond procreation, right? Go forth and multiply, I think God tells Adam and Eve. But what we do know is that in this passage, I don't know if you picked up on it, the image of God is mentioned 4 times. It's not like God created people and he made them in the image of God, and then we move on. It's like over and over and over, because there's an importance to it. What does it mean for, if you have children, to recognize that they're part of, that you see yourself in them? I've gone to war with my kids over certain things. I don't know if you've ever done that, right? Some of you have. Some of you have perfect, wonderful children who just are, I don't know. But part part of, if you have the perfect, wonderful children, it's part of your image, right? So you're just perfect and wonderful and have given that to your children, and they're awesome and just so easygoing. And I'm not, so my children aren't. They're created in an image of hyperactivity and defiant. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to give you too much. You might turn me off if you haven't already. Here's the thing. I go to war with my kids over certain things because I want the best for them. And when something becomes so important, I want to shape them and kind of give them the advantage of moving them in the right direction. I have gained over years of experience some wisdom that I can offer to them, can give to them. So as we're here this morning in church, we recognize, I'd like to suggest that you recognize that there's a God that created and there's a purpose to life, and that we're created, God says 4 times, we're created in the image of God. And God, we believe as Christians, is so invested in who we are as people because we're created in His image. And like I go to war with my kids and I try and give them I give them a push in the right direction, or shape them or mold them in a way that's going to be beneficial for them because I want the best for them in their life for as long as they live, as long as I'm here with them, for all eternity. We're here because we're worshiping a God who we recognize has done and is doing the same for us. Because there's a purpose to it. And He created us in His image. And He's so invested in us and in who we are that He's willing to go to war with us to get us in the right direction. Did God ever teach you a hard lesson? He never gives up on us. He continues to move us in the right direction. The greatest thing about the creation story that we didn't read, you're going to have to read this on your own. Read Genesis 2. About God creating us, forming us with His own hands and breathing into us the breath of life and all that. The greatest thing about that is it foreshadows His redemptive work. We're here this morning believing as Christians that God is willing to not only get Himself dirty in shaping us, in molding us, in caring for us. My kids never did this. Maybe yours did, but I've seen kids do this. Did you ever go to the playground and watch a kid eat dirt? They get it all over their mouths and their hands and everything, right? Maybe you had a dirt eater. They say that it's healthy for the immune system. So your children are probably hardier than mine are. But here's the thing. If you ever saw that as a parent, you probably were like, ooh, don't do that. Right? Here's how much God loves us. He took the dirt of the ground and formed us, and then put His lips, His face, into that very dirt to breathe life into us. And it only foreshadows how far God is willing to go. Because not only is God willing to get dirty for us, not only is God willing to go to war for us, but He sent Christ for us. his redemptive act. You don't have to be part of a tribe. You don't have to be born into a certain family. You don't have to have a certain disposition. You are created in the image of God. And there are things in your life that I know that you've done that God has had to offer you a little correction. Me too. Me, sometimes it was a big correction. Maybe for you, There's lessons that I'm still learning. And that I'm learning over and over and over because sometimes I don't get it. But God is willing to go to war to constantly correct and move me in the right direction, in the right paths. And he sent Jesus into the world years ago to teach us, to teach me, to teach you how it is to live as someone created in the image of God. How we can live fearlessly because there is no death. How we can live with our mistakes because we can give them to God because they've been nailed to the cross and they're forgiven. How we know that nothing can separate us from God's love. Not dirt, not sin, not Satan. Nothing can separate us. And Jesus came on the scene to say, look, why are you here? Because you've been created in the image of God. Each one of us is in God's image. And you're so valuable that God himself is willing to get dirty for you, is willing to go to war to you, is willing to die on a cross for you. So that you can be welcomed to his table. So that you can be in paradise forever, knowing that you're loved for who you are. Every once in a while, I should do it more than I do. But I try and assure my kids that no matter what they do and no matter what choices they make, I'll always love them. Always. I might not like the choices they make, but they'll always be mine.